Marcus stood in the sterile courtroom, his hands trembling as he gripped the wooden railing before him. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows across his exhausted face. Across the room, behind the elevated bench, sat the woman he'd helped on the side of Highway 85 just 24 hours ago, her hands now folded professionally over a thick case file, her expression unreadable behind wire-rimmed glasses. His son's future hung in the balance, and the judge presiding over his emergency custody hearing was someone who knew exactly what kind of man he was. Or did she? Marcus felt his throat tighten as she opened the folder, her eyes scanning documents that could take away the only thing that mattered. He never imagined that one random act of kindness on a rainy Tuesday night would become the thread connecting him to this moment. What she was about to say would either destroy everything he'd fought for or save it. But there was something she knew that nobody else in that courtroom did. 29 hours earlier, Marcus had been driving home from his second shift at the warehouse, his shoulders aching and his mind already racing through the next day's impossible schedule. The rain hammered against his windshield like bullets, turning the highway into a dark, slick ribbon of asphalt. He was exhausted, bone-deep tired in the way only single parents working 60-hour weeks understand. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. Another message from his ex-wife's lawyer. He didn't even look at it. That's when he saw the car on the shoulder, hazard lights blinking weakly through the downpour. Marcus almost kept driving. He was late. Jaden, his 7-year-old son, was waiting with Mrs. Chin next door, probably already asleep on her couch. Marcus had promised to be home by 9. It was nearly 10:30. But something made him slow down. Maybe it was the way the car sat tilted on the shoulder, clearly disabled. Maybe it was his mother's voice in his head, the lesson she drilled into him since childhood about helping people even when it costs you something. He pulled over, turned on his own hazards, and stepped out into the storm. The woman stood beside the driver's door, drenched, phone pressed to her ear. She was black, maybe in her mid-40s, wearing what had once been a crisp business suit now plastered to her frame. Her face showed frustration and something else, vulnerability. "Ma'am!" Marcus called out, jogging toward her. "You need help?" She lowered the phone, relief washing over her features. "My roadside service says 2-hour wait minimum. I have a flat, and I've never changed a tire in my life." She laughed, but was tight, stressed. Not exactly how I planned to end today. Marcus was already walking toward her trunk. "Pop it open. Let's get you back on the road." As he worked in the rain, his clothes soaking through to his skin, they talked in short bursts between the sounds of the lug wrench and his grunting efforts. She told him she'd been in court all day, long, difficult hearings that drained her. He told her he was trying to get home to his son, that he was always trying to get home to his son. "Single parent?" she asked. "Yeah, just me and Jaden. His mom." Marcus paused, tightening the last bolt. "She's got her own struggles. It's complicated." The woman nodded, understanding in her eyes. "I can imagine. I see a lot of families in my work. A lot of complications." Marcus lowered the flat tire into her trunk, slammed it shut, and wiped his muddy hands on his already ruined jeans. "All set. You're good to go." She reached for her purse. "Please let me pay you." "No, ma'am. Just pay it forward." Marcus was already backing toward his car. "Drive safe." "Wait," she called out. "At least tell me your name." "Marcus. Marcus Webb." She smiled, genuine warmth breaking through professional exterior. "Thank you, Marcus Webb. I'm Judge Andrea Simmons, and I won't forget this." Marcus waved and climbed back into his car, already thinking about getting home, microwaving dinner, checking Jaden's homework, preparing for another impossibly early morning. He didn't think about Judge Simmons again, not until he saw her walk into the courtroom the next afternoon. The emergency hearing had been sprung on him with less than 12 hours' notice. His ex-wife, Shauna, had filed for full custody, claiming he was unfit, working too much, leaving Jaden with neighbors, unable to provide proper care. Her lawyer had painted a picture of neglect, of a father too consumed with survival to actually parent. They presented school records showing Jaden had been late 17 times that semester, photos of their small apartment, cluttered with laundry and dishes. A statement from Shauna's mother claiming she'd seen Jaden eating cereal for dinner 3 nights in a row. None of it was a lie, but none of it was the whole truth either. Marcus had scraped together $500 for a consultation with a family lawyer, a young public defender named Rita Chin, who'd agreed to help pro bono after hearing his story. But Rita had been clear. Emergency hearings were brutal, and Marcus was walking in at a disadvantage. Single black father versus a mother claiming abandonment? The odds weren't good. Just be honest, Rita had told him that morning in the courthouse hallway. Tell him about your life, your son, why you do what you do. Hope for a fair judge. When Judge Simmons walked in, Marcus felt his stomach drop. She didn't look at him, didn't acknowledge him at all, as she took her seat and called the court to order. Professional. Distant. Nothing like the grateful woman from the highway. Had he made things worse somehow? Would she think he'd helped her to manipulate the system, to curry favor? Shauna's lawyer went first, systematically dismantling Marcus's life. Yes, he worked overnight shifts. Yes, Jaden spent evenings with neighbors. Yes, their apartment was small, cramped, sometimes messy. Yes, Marcus had missed parent-teacher conferences. Yes, Jaden's grades had slipped. Marcus sat there, listening to his failures cataloged like evidence at a crime scene. Each point landed like a physical blow. He thought about Jaden's face that morning, confused about why he couldn't come to court, asking if he was in trouble. Marcus had knelt down, held his son's small shoulders, and promised everything would be okay. Now he wasn't sure he could keep that promise. When it was Rita's turn, she did her best. She presented Marcus's work records. Never late, never miss a shift, employee of the month twice. She showed his bank statements proving he paid every bill, never missed child support even when Shauna had full custody. Letters from teachers praising his involvement despite his schedule. A photo of Jaden's bedroom. Small but clean, walls covered with Marcus's hand-drawn murals of superheroes and spaceships, made during precious Sunday afternoons. Mr. Webb works 2 jobs to provide for his son, Rita argued. He's not neglectful. He's surviving a system that makes it nearly impossible for working-class parents to succeed. He loves that boy more than anything. But Shauna's lawyer was ready. Love doesn't pay for childcare, your honor. Love doesn't make up for a father who's never home. Mrs. Webb has remarried. She can provide stability, a 2-parent household, financial security. Stability? Marcus couldn't stop himself. The word exploded out of him. Judge Simmons's eyes cut to him sharply, but he was already standing, Rita pulling at his arm. She left us. She chose drugs over her son, and now that she's cleaned up and found a new husband, she wants to... Mr. Webb. Judge Simmons's voice was firm but not unkind. Sit down. Marcus sat, his heart hammering. He'd just ruined everything. The courtroom fell silent. Judge Simmons looked down at the case file, then up at both parties. Her expression gave nothing away. I'm going to take a 15-minute recess, she said. When we return, I'll hear directly from Mr. Webb. Be ready. The recess felt like hours. Rita tried to coach him, but Marcus could barely hear over the roaring in his ears. This was it, his last chance. When they returned, Judge Simmons gestured to the witness stand. Mr. Webb, please approach. Marcus walked forward on shaking legs. He placed his hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth, and sat down. Judge Simmons leaned forward slightly. Mr. Webb, tell me about yesterday evening. Were you around 10 p.m.? The question caught him off guard. Shauna's lawyer looked confused. Rita frowned. I was driving home from work, Your Honor. And did anything unusual happen during that drive? Marcus's eyes met hers. Understanding flickered between them. I stopped to help someone with a flat tire. Were you late getting home to your son because of this? Yes, ma'am. Was your son safe while you were delayed? Yes. He was with our neighbor, Mrs. Chan. She's watched him since he was a baby. She loves him like her own grandson. Judge Simmons nodded slowly. Mr. Webb, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want you to think carefully before answering. Why do you want custody of your son? Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. He didn't try to hide them. Because he's my whole world, Your Honor. Every shift I work, every hour I'm away from him, it kills me. But I do it because he deserves a home, food, clothes, a future. I'm not perfect. I'm tired all the time. Sometimes the apartment's a mess, and yeah, sometimes dinner is cereal because I barely have time to breathe. But when I tuck him in at night, when I help with his homework, when we spend Sundays drawing together or playing at the park, those moments are what I live for. Jaden knows I love him. He knows I'd do anything for him, including stop on a dark highway in the rain to help a stranger, because that's the kind of man I want him to become. The courtroom was utterly silent. Judge Simmons removed her glasses, cleaning them slowly. When she spoke, her voice carried through the room with quiet authority. I presided over hundreds of custody cases. I've seen good parents and terrible ones. I've seen people who claim to love their children, but can't sacrifice anything for them. Last night, I met a man who sacrificed his time, his comfort, and his safety to help a complete stranger. A man who, despite being exhausted and late, chose kindness. That tells me something about character that no lawyer's argument can refute. She looked at Shauna. Mrs. Webb, I don't doubt you worked hard to rebuild your life, but reunification with your son should be gradual, earned through consistent involvement, not awarded through emergency custody proceedings that disrupt his stability. Judge Simmons turned back to Marcus. Mr. Webb, you're not a perfect parent, but perfection isn't a standard. Love, sacrifice, and consistency are. The court finds no evidence of neglect or unfitness. Primary custody remains with the father. Mrs. Webb will have supervised visitation, increasing over 6 months if she demonstrates reliable involvement. The gavel came down. Marcus couldn't breathe. Rita was hugging him, talking rapidly, but all he could see was Judge Simmons gathering her files, glancing at him one last time with the smallest smile before leaving the bench. Outside the courthouse, the autumn sun felt impossibly bright. Marcus called Mrs. Chun, his voice breaking as he told her the news. Then he sat on the courthouse steps and cried. Huge, shaking sobs of relief and exhaustion and gratitude. He'd helped a stranger change a tire, and she'd helped him keep his son. Sometimes, Marcus thought as he wiped his eyes and headed home, sometimes the universe pays it forward faster than you expect.